Good morning. I'm going to talk to you on this Palm Sunday. It's been what? This will be the third Sunday that we haven't met together. Just a few announcements first as we get going. Looks like we might be doing this for a little while, I don't know. But I want to thank everybody for doing what they're doing as far as the stay at home and staying 6 feet away from each other. We want to keep as many people as we can from getting sick. So let's go ahead and start on this Palm Sunday. They will wait upon the Lord. They shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Seems like that in this culture that we live in now, we're really obsessed with social media. It looks like we're being a bigger part of it than what we used to be, especially with me. I know very little about social media, but it looks like I'm going to learn. I want to thank my grandson Matthew for helping me with this, and my daughter Shelley. We'll see how it comes out. You know, on social media, I wonder, it seems that everyone really wants attention. You know, that's what Facebook and Instagram and the other things do. But being at the center of attention can be kind of exhausting, and sometimes it can be isolating too. Actor George Clooney said in a recent interview, there are restrictions to this kind of fame, the kind of fame that we had. I haven't walked in Central Park for 15 years, and I'd like to, you know. And then actor Johnny Depp said in an interview on the Today Show, being famous is a little bit like living like a fugitive. Everything has to have some sort of strategy to work, to get into a hotel, to get out of the hotel, to get into your restaurant, to get out of the restaurant. Fame is a double-edged sword. There are benefits, but there is often a price to pay that not everyone sees. In our Bible passage today, which I'm going to read part of that to you. Now, it's a familiar passage for you. It comes to us in Matthew. It's Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. This comes from Matthew 21, 1 through 11. When they had come near to Jerusalem and reached Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied there, and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this, the Lord needs them. And he will send them immediately. This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, tell the daughter of Zion, look, our king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of the donkey. The disciples went and did what Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt, and they put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and people cut branches from trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed him were shouting, Hosanna, the Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven. When he entered Jerusalem, the holy city, was in turmoil, asking, who is this? The crowds were saying, this is the prophet, Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee. It seems like going into Jerusalem, there have been a lot of people that heard about Jesus' teaching, and not only his teaching, but a lot of them probably saw the miracles he did, and the healings, the feeding of the 5,000 people. So he was a popular person at the time. And they wanted to welcome him in. They wanted to welcome him the Messiah. Now, the first word I think that comes to our mind on Palm Sunday and Holy Week is Hosanna. And if we were here together in the church, our kids right now would probably be having palm branches, and they'd be walking around the church singing and shouting Hosanna. And we've done that for a long time, and that's a good thing to do. Well, the people in Jerusalem, though, were ready to welcome Jesus as a political leader and a religious leader. And there's a quote that I ran across from John Nesbitt, and it says this: leadership involves finding a parade and getting in front of it. Well, Jesus wasn't looking for a parade. The parade was looking for Jesus. The first day of Holy Week is a celebration. Hosanna, please save us. Ultimately, the story goes downhill from that time on. In the end of the week, the mood of hate and hostility has overcrowded the mood of Hosanna. Hate and hostility are two themes that we're very acquainted with in today's world. We see in the Middle East and many other places in our world, but we also see it here and in our own hearts. It shouldn't surprise us that people sometimes respond to Jesus in the worst possible way. People were very rarely and are very rarely neutral about him. What is there about Jesus that some are willing to die for him, but others will not rest until he's in the grave? Even his own disciples betrayed him, denied him, fled from him. Ironically, he never turned his back on any of them. He came to save the most hostile and hateful. Whether it be the thief who was on the cross beside him, or Judas Iscariot who betrayed him. Jesus embodied the amazing grace that we celebrate in that song, Amazing Grace. So why in the world is the world so hostile to Christ? How do we go from palm branches and parades to a crown of thorns and the cross? The world is hostile to Jesus. First of all, I think because of who he says he is. Notice that members of the crowd referred to Jesus as the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. Throughout history, people have laughed at prophets, ignored prophets, persecuted prophets. But Jesus never claimed to be a prophet. He claimed much more than that. He came to be God in human form. He said, when you have seen me, you have seen my Father, God. You know, life would be so much simpler if we could just make Jesus into whomever we individually wanted him to be. He can be a prophet, a guru, a role model, even a buddy. But Jesus made the truth crystal clear. He is God incarnate. He made our decision crystal clear to take up the cross and follow him, or ignore him, reject him, and miss out on the blessings that he can give you. You know, that's what Judas chose to do. Judas followed Jesus, worshiped Jesus, ate with Jesus. Judas heard all of his teachings. He witnessed most of his miracles, I would imagine. And Judas still betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Betrayal by someone you think is your friend is one of the most hurtful experiences in life. William Tyrrell was a Catholic priest in the early 1500s in London, and had a passion for translating the New Testament from Greek language into the English language, so that common man and common woman could read the good news of Jesus for themselves. But the Bishop of London refused to let him make a translation. So William traveled to Germany, where he made his translation, and then smuggled the new English translation back into England. And King Henry VIII and the authorities from the official Church of England tried to hunt him down and arrest him. But William was able to hide from them for 11 years as he refined his translation and passed it on to others. But William had his own Judas. William had no idea that one of his friends, Henry Phillips, was actually working with the authorities who were trying to stop him. Phillips worked hard to gain William's trust. The two men shared their meals together. William even trusted Phillips enough that he let him see the translation that he was working on. That was a mistake. In May 1535, Phillips arranged for guards to arrest William while the two were out on a walk. In October 1536, William was executed for crimes of heresy because he dared to translate the Bible into an English language. Now, Judas betrayed Jesus in the same way. And he finally realized what he had done. Judas threw the money down, 30 pieces of silver down in the synagogue, and the Bible tells us that he went out and hung himself. Judas faced the same choice that each one of us faces when we're confronted with the reality of who Christ really is. We can ignore him, reject him, or receive him. And those who receive him can experience the blessing Christ can provide. The world is hostile to Jesus, first of all, because of who he says he is. The world is also hostile to Jesus because of what he intends to do. He intends to bring the kingdom of God on earth. You know, that's the major theme of his teaching. The kingdom of God. The kingdom is about peace, not power. It's about love, not victory. It's about gentleness, not domination. Remember the prophecy that Jesus fulfilled when he chose a donkey instead of a stallion for his entry into Jerusalem. Say to daughter Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on the donkey, the colt, the foal, and the colt, the foal of the donkey. Jesus never used a bait and switch way of doing things. He never used that, and still doesn't use that, to try to bring people into God's kingdom. He made it perfectly clear from the beginning of his ministry what he was there for, what God planned to do through him. He was the coming Prince of Peace. You know, I think the problem is it's easier to rally people's energies and emotions around war than it is around peace. War is tangible. War requires weapons and strategy and clear-cut goals. And it also requires an end. In war, it's easy to tell which side you're on all the time. But peace requires humility and communication and cooperation. It requires putting others' needs before our own needs. The end goal in war is to conquer your enemy, but the end goal in peace is really to conquer ourselves, to conquer our selfish, greedy, violent human nature, and work together for the sake of God's glory. Historian Gene Smith wrote a book, When the Cheering Stopped, about President Woodrow Wilson, and the event leading up to the following of World War I. President Wilson was viewed as an international hero by the end of the war. This was a war, after all, that was sought to make the world safe for democracy and many people believe that that day was at hand. December 1918, President Wilson was greeted with cheering crowds when he visited Europe. He got a hero's welcome everywhere he went. Wilson spent his time in Europe trying to gain support for the League of Nations, an international body that would advocate for peace and prevent devastating wars like we had just suffered. However, members of Wilson's own party opposed his plan for the League of Nations. He traveled across the country trying to gain support from American people for the idea of an international arbitrary body that would protect peace and freedom. But like Winston Churchill in Great Britain, all the American people seemed to forget that what Wilson had done for them. In the next election, Wilson's party was defeated. In October of 1919, he suffered a severe stroke and he never fully recovered. The primary reason that President Wilson didn't get the support for his League of Nations was because it required sacrifice and cooperation on the part of the participating nations. And after a devastating world war, these countries and their citizens wanted to focus on their own needs first. And we see that same kind of forces at work in today's world. The world is hostile to Jesus, first of all, because of who he is. The world is also hostile to Jesus because of what he intends to do. He intends to bring God's kingdom to earth, a kingdom of peace, love, and respect for all people. Finally, I think the world is hostile to Jesus because his kingdom is eternal and not immediate. Jewish people at the time of Jesus wanted saved from their immediate circumstances, from the oppressive power of Rome, from unjust laws that the Romans had put on them, from the sting of being ruled over by a pagan government that didn't honor their God or their society either. They wanted to be saved from the sting of a lost identity and the defeat of their holy nation. They gave no thought to the rule of God in their lives or the priorities of eternity. And when Jesus lost his popularity, when he looked like a victim of Rome, the religious leaders turned against him. The people wanted a flesh and blood king, not a king who offered his flesh and blood on their behalf, not a king who conquers by way of humility and submission. They wanted immediate power and an earthly king who called the people to war and would run Rome out of their country. They didn't want to have a kingdom over all people. They wanted the glory and the immediate security, not the glory of eternal God, who is working out his promise for all people and for all nations, for all time. You know, when you think about it, are we really any different? We want a kingdom now and not later. We want a king who protects our comfortable lifestyle and not one who demands us to care for the hungry and the sick and those who are in prison. We want immediate security, not eternity. And we try to twist Jesus' world and his priorities to fit our lifestyle. But it doesn't have to be that way. I want to tell you about one of the most admired leaders in the technological industry today. Samir is the CEO of SendKind, one of the world's most successful business email platforms. Samir's name appears at every list of the highest rated CEOs in the technology industry. It's interesting, Samir's colleagues and employees all refer to him as servant leader. And that's an interesting term, isn't it? servant leader. Samir credits his mother, who was killed when Samir was just 15 years old, for teaching him the mindset of a servant leader. There was a particular Indian parable that she recited in. This is what she would recite. When we enter this world, we all enter as babies, with our fists clenched, kicking and screaming and crying. When we leave, we all leave at peace, with our hands open. There's a reason why this is. We all carry into this world a special and unique gift. A gift that you clenched in your fist as a baby. Your job, the point of your life, is to discover what that gift is, and then give that gift to all people. When you're done giving that gift, then it will be your time, and you will pass at peace. Now, Jesus faced the last week of his life with peace, because he knew he was giving the ultimate gift, his life. And he was giving it for the salvation of the world. He left this world not only with open hands, but with nail-scarred hands. And it was for us. He knew that those people who greeted him with the shouts of Hosanna would soon shout at him in hatred and hostility. But that didn't deter him. But fortunately, the story does not end here. Holy Week is just one more word that is there for us. Next year I'm going to talk about another word that also starts with an H. You can maybe try to guess what it is next week, but I'll bring it to you next week. There's an ancient tradition in some Christian fellows that they do not ask this word or sing it or pray it from Ash Wednesday until Easter Sunday. But it's a word of great joy and victory. And I hope to be here next Sunday to say it with me as we celebrate Christ's victory over death and the grave. But our word for today is Hosanna. Please save us. Hate and hostility do not have the last word. Next Sunday, Easter Sunday, we'll celebrate Christ's victory over every hurtful thought, word, and deed in the world. Amen. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.